thanks so much for joining or tuning in today. My name is Lynn. I'm one of the account managers here at ThoughtExchange. Today, I am joined with the one and only Lauren Kelly. Lauren is our Chief Marketing Officer here at ThoughtExchange, and I brought her along to talk about all things branding, or should I say rebranding. Lauren, I believe, has it been 7-8 months since you've joined ThoughtExchange?
Yeah, a little right there, 7.5 months.
That's fantastic. It feels like an eternity, but I wanted to get your thoughts on rebranding, because I know one of the first things that you did here at ThoughtExchange when you came on board was actually rebrand our logo. And so I have a couple questions that I wanted to ask you. And so if you don't mind, I'm going to jump right into it. Okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So in terms of your rebranding approach, what were your top considerations when you were thinking of rebranding? When you came on board, what were your top considerations when you were thinking of rebranding the ThoughtExchange logo?
Yes, that's a great question. And for context, I have been rebranding my whole career. So I started at PepsiCo and worked with many amazing brands, both building and rebranding. And then similarly at Dell, did a lot of work with many of our core brands and also some of our acquisitions. And in each case, including the ThoughtExchange most recently, it's really about making sure you have a clear understanding of what the essence of your brand is intended to convey. What's the value that your brand is intended to deliver to your most kind of critical and loyal customers. And, first and foremost, asking yourself that very basic question of, is the current brand, both the look, the feel, the colors, the words that surround it, the imagery that accompanies it, does it speak to the value and the values that your core audience expects of or associates with your brand? And that's always to be balanced with, where do you want to go? So in many cases, as you're rebranding, you're not just changing the actual look of the brand to align it more closely to how people see you today, but where do you want people to see you? And so with ThoughtExchange, one of the biggest opportunities is we wanted to ensure that people understood how the core platform is so important and critical to the most important strategic initiatives within a school district. And so we wanted to really elevate the look of the brand so that it matched what we thought was the level of importance and mission critical nature of what ThoughtExchange can do to help support school districts and businesses. So those were kind of my primary considerations when I was looking at our existing brand and trying to determine where we take it.
Yeah, that's great. It sounds like it's a combination of where were we and where do we want to go and how do we incorporate that in our rebranding, right? So it's a combination of like looking kind of in the past, but really focusing on the future and where you want to go.
Absolutely. And then one other thing to think about is you do want to have enough markers of where you've come from so that it doesn't feel completely abrupt, and so that people do see elements of what they knew about the brand, the good things about it in the new brand, and then it incorporates some new elements that really take it in the direction where you want to go.
Yeah, that's so great. It's keeping some of the core values in some cases and core positive notions of your brand and keeping that forward, but also introducing new ones there. And so maybe it kind of adds to my second question. When you're thinking of adding those new elements and you're thinking, 5 years ahead, what do you want to include in this brand or rebrand? What were some of the key or what are some of the keys to a successful rebrand when you're going through that process?
Yeah. So I would say one is keep it simple. A lot of times people try to kind of over engineer an approach to a rebrand. And sometimes simple is better. If you think about some of the brands that you love the most, they're quite simple. And considering that and aligning it to how can you make it timeless? Because a lot of times you can gravitate towards things that are a bit of the moment and trendy. And in so doing, you may find that you rebrand and it doesn't stand the test of time. And brands change and evolve. If you look at many of the large brands that you've bought for decades, you'll see that every few years there's a few small changes, but they really are typically more evolution. So if you're going to rebrand, try to see if you can keep it in the timeless realm. And I think the other key consideration is taking your constituents and your community along with you on the journey. Any rebrand I've ever done, I've always ensured that you are engaging the people who are employed by the brand, and then the people that love the brand, because typically the people who love it the most will be the ones who have the strongest reaction to the new brand. So making sure you bring them along for the ride is really important.
That's fantastic. And so maybe if I can kind of latch on to that, Lauren, in terms of getting various different voices that both are people that are working for the brand, but also people that are in love with the brand, right? And so one of the core elements with ThoughtExchange is being able to have that discussion at scale. And so how were you able to leverage ThoughtExchange throughout your rebranding process?
Absolutely. So we really did it in two tranches or two phases. The first was to ask the people who knew our brand and loved our brand the most, what were the most positive associations they had with our brand? Really getting a broad and fairly comprehensive view of the key kind of words and feelings that come to mind when they think of ThoughtExchange. So that helped to inform our initial approach to how do we amplify those things that are coming up on top. And clearly the ThoughtExchange value proposition allows you to coalesce around the few most important things. And so we were able to do that initially, and that guided our creative work. So then we got the creative teams working to pull together a number of different options and narrowed them down, and then reassembled a group of people, a little smaller, to provide some concerted feedback on the few options that we had, culminating in an exchange where we did share some final candidates and then got feedback from that broader group again to help inform not which one do you like, but what do you like about the options being presented. Because I think it's important to say that it's not really about trying to get a democratic vote on the top option. That's not how ThoughtExchange is most effectively used, and that's not how you design a brand. But what you want to do is present that option to somebody and get what are your reactions, because what you want to look for are two reactions. One is what are the positive reactions that are really additive and that you make you go, we're on the right track. And then the unintended branding cues that you did not expect, you'll get those too. Like someone will go, oh, it kind of reminds me of this, and you go, ooh, that's not what I wanted. And so it'll give you both. It'll help to get you to the best answer and also mitigate your downside risk.
That's fantastic. That is so insightful, is the combination of a two cadence approach, but really you're getting thoughts on elements that resonate with your audience, but also different thought process or diverse thoughts that you never have thought of in those associations. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's great. I know we're almost at time here, and I was told to make this as short as possible because most people don't watch anything over 10 minutes now.
Okay.
But maybe in conclusion, for those who are kind of going through the process of rebranding right now, what are any last advice you would like to give those who are going through the process right now?
One would go back to the point I made earlier, which is make sure that you engage your stakeholders in the process, because your most loyal customers and your most loyal and engaged employees are going to be the strongest voice to help promote the future brand. Recognize that it can take some time and be willing to kind of give it the time it needs to live and breathe and get enough perspectives into the mix so that you feel really good about where you are. And then, that last piece around, make sure that it's as timeless as can be, but know that you're going to keep iterating over the years and decades to come on any brand to make sure it continues to maintain its relevance. So while this might be a good place to be in 2021 or 2022, know that in the years to come, you'll probably continue to evolve that brand, and that's okay.
That's so great. A timeless piece that continues to evolve. That's great. Thanks so much, Lauren. Really appreciate it. I know, grabbing 30 minutes out of your schedule is a pretty big ask, but I appreciate you doing this. And I guess maybe till next time.
Absolutely. Thank you. This is one of my favorite topics.
All right. Thanks, Lauren.
All right. Take care.